This is B coming to you from Guns and Accessories today. My dad passed away earlier this year, January 28, 2014. Today, December 6, 2014, would have been his 62nd birthday. My dad raised me and my brother to love God, to work hard, and to have fun also. My dad was raised by what's been termed or coined the greatest generation. My dad's dad, me and my brother and all the cousins, we called him Pops. He was the original Pops.
He was the original Pops.
I mean, but Dad took that on after. So.
Do you know why he took that on? He was not going to be Pops, and his daughter-in-law talked him into being Pops also.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I see. That's right.
That's how that came about.
Pops came from the greatest generation. I've heard stories about him going through the Depression along with my grandmother, about them going through the Depression, and my pops especially as their family went through it. They lived in town, and they had a hard time making it through the Depression. My grandmother, on the other hand, lived right around where my pops was at, but she lived out in the country, and they grew their own vegetables, and they were able to really take care of themselves in the country. So from the stories I heard, my grandmother kind of got through the Depression easier because they were able to take care of themselves. My pops lived in town. His dad was a carpenter, and so they did have it very hard going through the Depression. So my pops went through that. He was also in the war. He was in the Navy, but he was in the air side of the Navy. He was a pilot. Now he was being shipped to the Philippines whenever they got word that Japan had been bombed, and so as that happened, he never got into the war, but he was in around that time, and as he was being shipped to the Philippines, they heard about that, and so somewhere in that time period, they asked him if he wanted to stay in the Navy or if he wanted to go into the Army, as they went in to rebuild Japan, and I think he switched over to the Army, and he went into Japan, and he lived there for a certain period of time, and he was there, and he helped them to rebuild Japan. So after he got out of the war and came back, him and my grandmother moved to Texas, and had it hard at first because he was learning how to farm and worked very hard at that. My pops was, like I said, came from the greatest generation, and he knew how to work hard. And with him going through all the stuff that he went through, going through the Depression, going through the war, going through just all of the regular life struggles, he knew how to work hard, and he instilled that in my dad as well. Now, my dad, on top of everything else, was just a hard worker, but he had kind of a special quality about him, and I'm gonna bring up something here that my dad always just had fun with, and he never used it as an excuse. He never just sat on the sidelines because of this. But I'm gonna show you here in a picture that my dad was born with only half of his right arm, and it was that way from the beginning. He never knew anything different. He only had his left hand, his left arm, really to use. His right arm went down to his elbow. So on top of everything else that my dad did in working hard, he learned how to work hard with just one hand. And he overcame that. And like I said, he never used it for an excuse. In fact, a lot of times at work, if there was something that needed to be done, he did it. Whether it was going to hurt his working shoulder more, whether he knew he was going to get in trouble because he had to have several surgeries on his shoulder because it had double the life on it. It had to do double duty because he didn't have a hand on the other side. So his left shoulder was always in terrible shape. And he had several surgeries, and after those surgeries, he had certain restrictions placed on him at work that he couldn't lift, certain pounds. But he never worried about that. He never made an excuse that he couldn't lift anything. If there was something that needed to be done and he was the only person there to do it, he was going to do it. So my dad was a hard worker from the beginning, and especially when you consider him overcoming his disability. Like I said, he always had fun with that. And when like I've said before, he works at Walmart. He worked at Walmart, and he would always have little kids asking him, what happened to your arm? And he always had some kind of story to tell them, and stories about bears ripping it off, and about reaching back to slap the kids, and they tore his arm off, and all kinds of stuff. He never tried to make people feel sorry for him because of that. He always just worked, and so he instilled that hard work ethic into me and to my brother. Now, along with him working hard, he also taught us how to have fun. And you know, the way my dad dealt with situations that was awkward for him is he got goofy, or he would just start making jokes. That's the way he dealt with stuff. Like for instance, if for some reason he was, you know, in a situation where things started turning sappy, Dad turned goofy. He could not take that, and partly is because of how he was. I know he would cry at the drop of a hat, so he didn't want anybody to see that. So instead of him getting into this sappiness and him start crying, he would just turn goofy, and that's what he taught me and my brother to do, is just to have fun, to make light of things, and to I guess just not take things too seriously, other than the things that really matter. And so he taught us that. And in fact, some of the last words that I talked to my dad about was, he was going in for a surgery when he passed away, and right before he went into surgery, I told him, I said, you know, I was telling jokes to him while he was sitting there in the waiting room, and he said, why are you telling jokes right now? Like he couldn't believe that I was doing that, but that's exactly what he would have been doing if he was in the opposite, if he would have been in my position. And I said, well, because Dad, that's how you taught us to deal with stuff. And one of the last things I remember talking to my dad about was a skit from Brian Regan about him talking about him being in a waiting room, or at the ER, at the waiting room in the ER, about people, about people screaming for help and all. Anyways, you need to go on and look that up. Brian Regan, his ER skit. It's pretty funny. But that's the last thing I remember talking to my dad about. So he taught us to have fun in life, and how to overcome obstacles like he did, and to work hard, and to have fun, and to love God. That was his message to us. So to honor my dad, and in the way he would have dealt with this, all this sappiness of me talking about him, he would have hated this. He would have been squirming. He would have found something else to talk about. He would have found a joke to tell. So to honor my dad, I'm going to change the mood of this video a little bit. Me and my brother went out to shoot in honor of my dad today, because like I talk about in the description of my channel, that's another thing that he instilled in us, is the love of firearms, how to be safe with them, how to have fun with them. And so me and my brother went out and we did a little bit of shooting. And so I'm going to roll in a little bit of that clip right here. Happy birthday, Dad.
Here we go. Firing.
Oh. What happened? You open the heart up?
Yeah, I shot right next to it. Literally like right next to it. Here we go. Number 2.
There you go.
That look pretty cool.
That's too cool. That is too cool. So much for my targets.
Filthy lemon lime soda. Die. Count of 3. 1, 2, 3, 6. Ready? Yep. Just blow that sucker up. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Give me a countdown.
Okay, you ready?
Alright, here we go. 3, 2, 1.